it up somehow. I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, in the event you are wondering and pondering about Straight Talk tonight, then the duty is mine to first apologize for what may seem to be, what is in fact, a very tardy start, late start to tonight's programming due to circumstances entirely beyond my control. But it's time for me to bid you good night, my Straight Talk family, wherever you are, in St. Kitts and Nevis, and throughout the entire Caribbean region. Because we do have listeners as far north as Trinidad and Tobago, or rather, it's Guyana. And as far north, what am I saying? My geography is wrong. And I can just look at the maps behind me. As far north as Jamaica, and as far south as Trinidad and Tobago and or Guyana. And we have in the Kittitian and Nevisian diaspora a whole lot of Kittitians and Nevisians who are logged on to Facebook, to YouTube each Monday and Thursday, because we come your way every Monday and Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. and we bring you a Straight Talk. And there are quite a lot of you in Africa. There are some of you in Asia. There are some of you in Europe, and a whole lot of you right here in North America. So I'm at liberty to say good night. I can't say good morning, and I'm at liberty as well to say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves, my Straight Talk family, and many of us just getting some freedom from this COVID pandemic, or these COVID pandemic protocols, I should say. But if you're joining me for the first time, I can say that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's, in the process, my Straight Talk family, continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we also try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me, I should say, with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. The time is fast moving on, but just for some UN news, today I had the distinct honor and privilege to sign an agreement on behalf of our government, on behalf of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, between the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, and I'm sure we'll hear much more of that, as my minister, Mark Brantley, is famous of saying we have continued to expand our diplomatic footprint, and I'm sure you'll hear much more of that from him in due course. But today, my Straight Talk family, Monday the 22nd day of March, is World Water Day. And I thought we should focus a little bit on water, because it's an annual United Nations Observance Day, recognized on the 22nd of March every year since 1993, and focuses or highlights the importance of fresh water. Now, for ease of clarification, fresh water is something that's naturally or is naturally occurring water except seawater and brackish water. It includes, in my opinion, water in ice caps, glaciers, in ponds, lakes, rivers, streams, and even underground water called aquifer well fields, like in our case in St. Kitts, we speak a lot about the Bastia Valley Aquifer. Now, World Water Day is primarily used to advocate or to champion the cause for sustainable management of freshwater resources. Each year, the theme to celebrate the day focuses on topics that are relevant to clean water, sanitation, and hygiene, as we say, WASH, and which is in line with the targets of Sustainable Development Goal 6. Now, there are 17 Sustainable Development, or 17 goals, called rather the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, or global goals, some people call them, which are designed to transform the world in which we live and to ensure that we live a good life. With no attempt at insulting rather your knowledge, they are a collection of 17 interlinked global goals designed as a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all of our countries. The SDGs were set in 2015 by the United Nations General Assembly and are intended to be achieved by the year 2030. They are included in a United Nations resolution called the 2030 Agenda, or what is colloquially known as Agenda 2030. Now, what really are the Sustainable Development Goals, you may ask? But simply put, the SDGs are a call for action by all countries, whether poor, rich, and or middle income. All countries are called upon to promote prosperity while protecting this planet called Earth. The SDGs recognize that ending poverty must go hand in hand with strategies that build economic growth and address a range of social needs, including education, health, social protection, and job opportunities, while tackling climate change and environmental protection. What about the targets of Sustainable Development Goal 6 that essentially addresses clean water and sanitation? This goal is aimed at ensuring clean water and better sanitation facilities for all of us, for everyone. Clean water and clean toilets protect people from contracting diseases and increases life expectancy of all. The goal targets a greater distribution or the provision of more toilets, especially to people in places with a high population density and or in schools and or workplaces or places of work. I recall back in 2014, then candidate for the Douglas Labour Party, Dr. Vance Gilbert, chastised his leadership or the leadership of his party on the issue of latrines, pit latrines. And this was bold and commendable, even though Gilbert felt the wrath of his leader and subsequently suffered a beating of a nigh 20-year incumbent representative. But Gilbert must be commended for taking a stance in this manner.
One of the other issues that is still bothering me personally, there is still a lot of latrines. We have brought this issue before to the government. My issue is that I feel sometimes the response of the government is too slow. I want to see the government more timely, more effective to responding to the needs of the people. So people can know that when they have a complaint, the government is working on it in a timely manner. And I want to challenge the government to get things done for the people in a timely manner.
And that was Dr. Vance Gilbert, challenged his own leadership. And yes, back then there were more pit latrines. There are some still existing, and it's time we eradicate all of them, I submit. However, more important than ever, today, the Sustainable Development Goals provide a critical framework for COVID-19 recovery. With respect to the implementation of the 17 goals, which began in 2016, some progress has been made so far. And although the goals are facing criticism from many people, it must be noted that the end goal, the expected outcome, is to achieve all 17 goals by the year 2030. In this context, the President of the General Assembly on Thursday, the 18th March, last Thursday, convened a one-day high-level meeting to promote the implementation of the water-related goals and targets of the 2030 agenda in support of the implementation of the Decade on Water and Sustainable Development 2018 to 2028 and the high-level political forum on sustainable development in this world. In his opening remarks, the President of the 75th session of the UN General Assembly, His Excellency Volkan Bozkir, was blunt in respect of what he labeled our moral failure as a people and as nations, my straight dog family.
If I may be candid, it is a moral failure that we live in a world with such high levels of technical innovation and success, but we continue to allow billions of people to exist without clean drinking water. And make no mistake, this is a global failure and has far-reaching implications for all of us. Water is life. We simply cannot live on this planet, and certainly not in any healthy capacity, if we are deprived of this most basic human need. Our entire agricultural system, all of the food we consume, is dependent upon water supplies. Water is sustainability. Safe drinking water systems and adequate sanitation is essential to ensure cities and towns grow sustainably.
In the process, Bosky revealed some startling data, believe it or not, my Straight Talk family. And these are the data.
By current estimates, some 2.2 billion people, almost a third of the global population, continue to lack access to safely managed drinking water. 4.2 billion people, more than half of the planet's population, live without safely managed sanitation. 2 billion people don't have a decent toilet of their own, and 3 billion lack basic hand-washing facilities, even in the midst of a global pandemic.
And those statistics are startling. 2 billion people around the world without toilets, 2.2 billion without fresh water, and 4.4 without good sanitation. My Straight Talk family, if it is one lesson that we should have learned by now from the COVID crisis, or if it is one thing that COVID has shown us, it is that the world is connected. Whether we are in Africa, Asia, Europe, North America, or in the Caribbean, we all agree that clean water, reliable toilets, and good hygiene are vital for living a dignified and healthy lifestyle. We need water to shower, we need water to bathe, yes, we need water to cook, we need water to flush our toilets for those who have toilets. But the reality is, and the public must know, that 1 in 10 persons worldwide do not have access to clean water, and 1 in 4 people do not have a decent toilet. In more recent times, we hear the recurrent proposition that no one is safe until everyone is safe. So in this context, can we consider water as a global public good, or a global common, or a public good that belongs to the global population? But when something becomes global common, it means, in my opinion, that it cannot be handled on a sovereign level, because global commons are different in nature and would impact differently dependent upon where we are in the different regions of the parts of the world. One size would not fit all, so we must have different types of structures or modalities, and I submit that decisions must be locally anchored. For that reason, let us examine our own disposition in St. Kitts Nevis on this World Water Day. But for our discussion tonight, I will focus on the island of St. Kitts, since that's the only data available to Straight Talk. The theme of World Water Day 2021 which is today, March 22nd, as I said before, is valuing water. There are 3 pillars of sustainability, as I know them, and which are economic viability, environmental protection, and social equity. And water is inextricably linked to these pillars of sustainable development, my Straight Talk family. Water, we accept, is life. So what is the current water situation here on St. Kitts and Nevis? Now let's look at the supply and demand of this commodity, my Straight Talk family, as intimated just a few days ago by the acting manager and water engineer who had this to say.
From the government standpoint, the government will always see it as its responsibility to ensure that we endeavor to meet the demand for water, potable water, for purposes mainly inside of the home. We have been trying our best to keep up with the demand. I think that unfortunately, when we look at the situation locally in St. Kitts, we are not in the position that we would like to be in terms of the amount of water that we have, the supply versus the demand.
Not in the position we would like to be in terms of supply and demand. And the acting manager and water engineer also told us of these plans, my Straight Dog family, about well drilling or a well drilling program.
Yes, there has been instances when we would have drilled an active production wells, but
he did say this, I should say, my Straight Dog family.
Do need to continue to develop additional groundwater supplies. We need to continue to drill.
Maybe
and in that vein,
it is a moral
failure
we that we live in a world with such high levels of technical innovation and success,
with a company to continue our well drilling program. And in the coming weeks and months, we will be continuing our well drilling program.
What happened to Bead?
Same company. Bead.
The same company.
So that is ongoing, which hopefully, in months to a year, we would have improved our supply.
Yes, my Straight Dog family. Many are at variance with this particular approach in terms of well drilling, in particular or particularly in this era of climate variability. Many believe the strategy and or this approach is not anchored in the science of meteorology, which deals with the atmosphere and its phenomena, including both water and or both weather, I should say, and the climate. The Water Services Department and the acting manager and water engineer himself emphasized the importance of rainfall, which is the source of surface and groundwater supplies, my Straight Dog family, or underground water, I should say. The acting manager did inform us accordingly.
People might have the misconception, because we say we have 27 or so wells pumping water out of the ground, that maybe there is just this vast on the ground. No, the water cycle is a simple cycle, and all you need to know is that all of the water that we consume in St. Kitts, when you open your tap, all the water used in your home comes from rainfall. All of the water that we use in St. Kitts comes from rain. It doesn't rain every day. It doesn't rain every week. It doesn't rain the same amount every time. In St. Kitts, we have a wet season and a dry season. We have less rainfall, therefore we have less water available. Persons need to take stock. Dry season, we have less water available than, say, in the latter half of the year. We need to always remember that.
And yes, lack of rainfall. So that's why we come into question, or we put into question, my Straight Dog family, the real wisdom of well drilling at this time. Because in terms of efficiency and our well drilling program in the past, the history is quite clear, as outlined as well.
There has been instances when we would have drilled an active production wells, but to get those 30, we would have drilled probably nearly 100 wells all around the island.
You see the level of efficiency. Drill 100 wells to get 30 wells. And that surely brings into question the rational wisdom, apart from the fact that they are all rain water fed. Furthermore, in a paper which was facilitated by a grant from the Caribbean Development Bank and funding received from the Pilot Program for Climate Resilience, funded by the Inter-American Development Bank and the Climate Change Research Program of the Ministry of Science and Environment, SITMA, of Cuba, to the Project Super Clima, I should say, and published in the American Meteorological Society Journal of Climate. This paper, under the caption Small Islands Climate Change 2014 Impacts, Adaptation and Vulnerability. L.A. Nurse and his co-authors wrote this, and I quote, "Climate change poses a significant threat to the nations of the Caribbean. The Caribbean region consists of mostly small islands and other development states, and is classified as being among the most vulnerable regions of the world to climate change." And that's by Nurse and others in 2014. The vulnerability arises from an extreme sensitivity to climate due to, among other things, an overwhelming dependence on rainfall for water. And it was Farrell in that same paper stated, and I quote, "Recent prolonged droughts in the Caribbean, example in 2009 to 2010, and again in 2015, have significantly impacted, amongst other things, water availability, agricultural production, and the gross domestic product within the region." And those are facts, my Straight Talk family. Furthermore, in 2017, the Caribbean Drought and Precipitation Monitoring Network, CDPN, and personnel at the St. Lucia-based Caribbean Environmental Health Institute, now replaced by CARFA, warned that in the years to come, the Eastern Caribbean could see declines in average rainfall between 30 to 50%. Concurrently, the region is experiencing the rapid depletion of fresh water aquifers, an increase in saline and solid water, and the pollution of groundwater resources. These land and water-based issues do not even begin to take into account serious socio-economic and political deterrents to clean water availability. And my Straight Talk family, what is the alternative, you ask? I hear you ask that question, and the answer is emphatically desalination. It is a shame and disgrace that in 2006 or 2007, the past administration spent millions of dollars on a reverse osmosis plant with a capacity of 1.2 million gallons of water per day. And that desalination plant was never operationalized. It was never used. And as I speak to you today, it is lying idly at La Valley in Sandy Point, my Straight Talk family, and that is sad. Our entire island is surrounded by the ocean. So why are we so slow to maximize its use? Happy to learn. The acting manager and water engineer supports the view of desalination, save and accept he provided a big but. A big, big but, my Straight Talk family, when it comes to desalination.
I want to just mention desalination as one of the options that is right now on the table for us here in St. Kitts as an option. Desalination, of course, is where you actually set up a plant usually close to the coastline, and you stick a pipe out in the ocean, you pull in the seawater, you run it through that plant, desalination plant, and out comes fresh potable water that you can drink, cook with, bathe with, etc. Marriott does it. I think Park Hyatt has one. The main thing with desalination, of course, is the cost. It uses a lot of electricity, and therefore it is costly. Mm-hmm. Typically, it would cost no less than about $25 per 1,000 gallons. to desalinate water. Bear in mind that in St. Kitts right now, in your household, you're paying starting at $7.20 per 1,000 gallons. So this is what is confronting us. We don't have a water problem in St. Kitts, we have an economic problem because the whole ocean is there. We could just desalinate. There is no shortage of water there. But it's the cost. Is the government going to pay a developer or investor who comes in and put down a desalination plant? Is going to pay him $20 or more for 1,000 gallons and then distribute it to our houses for $7.20?
Question. We don't have a problem with finding the water, but it's the economics, it's the cost. Well, I don't know where those figures came from, but I know that the proper thing to do before speculating is for the Water Services Department to publish a request for proposals in terms of size of this desalination plant, in terms of the amount of gallons per day required, and other vital information that can be procured prior to selecting an appropriate investor. And a matter of fact, traditional large desalination plants required significant investment and space. However, with the advancement of technology, researchers, including scientists, have worked on and have developed energy-efficient, low-cost solutions for desalination. Improvements in technologies are pushing down the operating cost of desalination plants, with studies being conducted to assess the viability of using solar energy to power some of these plants. The size of the global water desalination equipment is projected to increase to 25.7 billion by the year 2027, all over Asia, all over America, and a matter of fact, the largest emerging desalination markets are now in Latin America. There are 68 new desalination plants being commissioned since 2007 right here in the Caribbean. The Caribbean Desalination Association reports that installed capacity in the region is 780 million gallons per day. In Bermuda, Curacao, Aruba, Antigua, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, the British Virgin Islands, the US Virgin Islands, and Barbados all have gone into desalination. So why are we not taking that route? It has been suggested that the only impediment to desalination option in St. Kitts is the cost. Hear this. Government has the primary responsibility to provide basic services like water and sanitation for all of its citizens, and will be the entity most capable of ensuring that these services last and are affordable. But quite often, they are underfunded and are incapable of meeting these needs, and there exists a very important role. Clean water is a basic necessity for life, but it is not a reality for much of our global population. My Stray Dog family, every human has the right to safe, clean, affordable, and accessible water. What is your view tonight, my Stray Dog family? I've spoken a lot, but I started late, so I'll get you involved at this time. Water, this finite resource, must be managed by all of us. Water is demanded by all of us. As water scarcity intensifies across the globe, the need for brackish and seawater desalination continues to grow. As we celebrate this World Water Day, let us first of all embrace the science and its prognosis. Let us take heed of the forecast of the likely long-term trends in climate and weather and their potential impact on human populations around the world, including us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Let us plan to mitigate against the deleterious effects and build resilience in our water sector. Water scarcity must not be a way of life in St. Kitts and Nevis. Lack of rainfall makes desalination a logical choice for ensuring potable water supplies in St. Kitts and Nevis. Those are the views that are advanced tonight. I will open the lines and get your feedback, get your views on what you think in terms of the value of water to you. What does water mean to you? It means different things to different people. Tell me what you think about the options of desalination. But we need water. We need to have water in our system whenever we turn those taps on. It's 14 before 9 o'clock. I must apologize for the late start. But again, before I go to lands, I must implore you, my Straight Talk family, we must respect others. And of course, to achieve that, we must first respect ourselves. Let us be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let's ensure that the things we say and not do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process, let us also ensure that in saying those things and doing those things, we will strive to build a kind of gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. With that said, I go to the lines. I call on you alive.
Good night, Mr. Liburd. Good night, Mr. Liburd, the man in the West.
How
Anyway,
are you, my brother?
I'm glad that I got in. I tried it so many times. But on the water issue, I am so glad that you mentioned some of the Windward Islands and also the Virgin Islands. They've been doing desalination for a long, long time. And all them big plants down there like the refinery, aluminum plant and all of them, they got their own desalination system. And Antigua has this a long, long time. Now Israel is a very good competitor and a leader in producing those desalination plants. So as you mentioned about technological improvement or development, is no shortage around the world today. You can get them in Australia, you get them they get them a number of places, but Israel is a real leader. So I'm glad to hear that the government is focusing on that kind of thing. So, and don't keep putting cars in front, because they used to put cars in front for the whole road bay project, you know. And by the way, a lot of people say in Old Road, and it's Old Road Bay, you know. And the map is Old Road Bay. That way they land a lot of slaves illegally. So,
yes.
I am glad that that come up in right, and that some positive steps would be taken. I know this is a progressive government. So, I only hope for the best. Mr. Liburd, I guess you know who's speaking. Have a good night. And
yes, I know you will. And
okay?
are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm glad you made the point about the desalination being used in these islands. As a matter of fact, desalination been around since the 1920s or 30s in some islands.
They've been around a long, long time.
Aruba and other islands. So it's very important to
Aruba,
understand that.
Bonnia, all those places, they have no fresh water supply like us. So they use the ocean. All right then, have a good night. And I'll stay listening.
Have a good night.
Right, bye.
Thanks, my brother. Yes, and it has to be the option. Over 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered with water. Why are we so slow to recognize and use that resource? Caller, you are live.
Yes. Good evening, Honorable Patrice. I've been waiting on
Good evening, my dear.
And look, people is saying, right, that it's time they live up there behind the army camp up Leggy. No, they're asking them, they're saying that $4 a square foot for the land up there, because they got to go buy them. And no, they don't want no. They drop it from themselves, they must buy the land. Some people don't got no money. You never got money to eat, much more to pay for the land. Easily up there. And they say, no, they mustn't got no goat and no animal, and they can't fence it and everything. Everybody like the tourist see, so you must get your fence down and look, everybody see where you cook and everything. Yeah. And looking at the traffic lights, we wanted them to make it open that we could see. And looking at the house, open thing, they wanted to open that people could get their houses to live in whatsoever. And I wanted to know that somebody tell me you're married. So I want to know if you're married.
Well, I'm supposed to marry you. Why is I married? Are you there?
Huh?
I said I'm supposed to marry you. Aren't you my wife?
Yeah.
Okay. What about water? You have water too?
Have a blessed evening. See you. Take care.
Okay. Have a good night, my dear. That's my dear good, I call her my labor friend from down west. It's now 9 before the 9 o'clock hour. We go straight back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Good evening, Dr. Ian Patrick Liburd, brother. I know you're good because I've been listening to you all night. That is, if never before, we really need a desalination plant because we must have water to water cabbage. Brother Nabo, good night. I haven't heard you for a while. I hope you is okay. I hope everything is all right with you. So, I wish you all the best if you're sick and get out of that quick. That is when I heard you said the many countries in the Caribbean that already installed desalination plant. I mean, what happened here? I think it's 2006, yeah, when I saw the plant that we got down Pump Bay, down La Valley. I saw it when it passed. It was a Sunday morning when the pass went west with that desalination plant. And you're going to tell me, this is water right there, like you said. The most thing in the world is water. We don't have to go nowhere, go drill no well to get that. And what was the reason why that plant never put into action? Because money was spent for that. Taxpayers' money was spent for that deal. And it stayed down there, just become a rat house, mongoose house. And I wouldn't doubt if we ain't got snake down there too. Ratting down for what? And now we bawling for more for water in the well. They're telling us be careful how we use the water, do not waste it. And we have that, they could pump water in the place. We don't have to go bring in no other countries, no other investors to do that for us. Let we use it, we say, let the government get into action and get it going. What happened? We are reaction, we reactive government. It's the people them around in the place who know how it go. They're supposed to go to the government and suggest this and suggest that. Go with good ideas and let us move on, because I know my government, they do the best to make sure the people comfortable. They do the best with what they have. So I don't know whoever have the responsibility to start up the thing down there, let us get it going. That is one of the way that we can save water. Modern days coming and money, it costs money to use modern facilities. But I could show you something, it might sound funny. You see them old-time toilet what we used to have with the long chain to pull? You could eat up 10 bags of corncoal and 2 bags of cornflakes only, and you go on the toilet. When you pull the chain, nothing stay back down in the toilet bowl from the height of the water coming down. But nowadays, these modern toilet, you flush it, when you look the water going down, and all the corncoal them in there, it depends on who eat them, you flush again, and that is 10 gallons or more. You put in there, so 5 wasted. You could say the 10 wasted because the business still in there. So we might have to go back to basics. Let me go back with the old toilet in the house with the long chain. I'll come back when I get more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. And the truth is that the amount of water available for public consumption has not really increased over the past 14 to 15 years, right? Uh, the last wells, I should say, that were drilled on the water supply improvement project was over the period 2003 to 2006. And we, the Team Unity administration drilled 2 wells. I think it was 2017. And one of such wells, the quality was not good, I should say, for human consumption. So only one well was, as far as I know, was brought into our commission, and that was a well over there in Shadwell with some 300,000 gallons. But the fact is, whether we drill wells or we have surface water, all that water comes from rain. And the predictions, the forecasts about rainfall, the climate, tells us that rainfall will reduce less and less. The ocean, the water in the ocean is not reducing, so why don't we go there? It can't be. It just cannot be about cost. I find no basis for that position, because with improvement in technology, the cost of desalination has been going down and down, and especially with the use of solar energy to power these desalination plants, microgrids are some of the things being used. With all these islands going desalination and ensuring that our people have water to flush out toilets, water for agriculture, water for tourism, because we tend to forget at times. We say, St. Kitts is how big? 68 square miles. How is Nevis and St. Kitts? But our population, 55,000 people. But we lose sight of the fact that intermittently our population rises over the year to over 1 million with arrivals by cruise ships. And when our overnight or stay-over visitors increase, that too will impact on our hotels that use water. Fresh water is critical throughout the Caribbean. Increasing global carbon emissions are projected to reduce average rainfall by the end or in the next 20 to 30 years. But let's go back to the lines at 2:49. Okay, we seem to have missed that caller. But I was saying that constraining freshwater availability, or these freshwater availabilities, I should say, have been constrained because of the climate variabilities. And saltwater intrusion is also associated with sea level rise. And this reduces the quantity and quality of our fresh water in the coastal aquifers. And we do have a coastal aquifer in St. Kitts, my straight dog family, or St. Kitts, in St. Kitts, up St. Kitts and Nevis, I should say. It's 1:09. I go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Yes, good night, Mr. Liburd. Yes,
Good night, sir.
I don't think the government do really take the advantage of areas in the country still that you have water that not being used or utilized, because in the mountain in West Farm, you have a water catchment, a waterfall down here, right? I grew up with the estate using that water. Used to use the water. Used to have some water tanks or catchments, whatever you want to refer to them as, in the estate yard, and that's where the people in West Farm used to get their water, right? Then I think it was in the 80s or 90s they stopped using it, right? So, and that water is coming down from out of the mountain to a certain area in the mountain there, and it's stopping there because the pipe that used to bring the water down here was blocked, and now since the estate, you finish with the estates and the sugar and things, there's no, it's not being cleared, and the tank has been turn into something else. So I believe if the government they would go in these areas where you have these waterfall and try to make better use of these water, you'll have more water for use in the country. You know, not saying that the doing what you're saying that they shouldn't be another option, but first let me use what we have instead of going into because to go into this thing that you're talking about, it's gonna cost a lot of money to develop that, right? And so if you use the waterfall that we have here already, I think it might be a better thing, and that is fresh water that is being wasted. You know, so maybe we should look at areas like that, you know, and then if anything, if it still needs, you know, we go on to others. Thank you.
Before you go, the caller. Okay, I was trying to engage the caller because in the 80s and 90s is referring to, that's when we had more rainfall, and it's important to note, and the acting water engineer made this point, and it has to be, or ought to be repeated. Here's what he said.
People might have the misconception, because we say we have 27 or so wells pumping water out of the ground, that maybe there is just this vast on the ground. No, the water cycle is a simple cycle, and all you need to know is that all of the water that we consume in St. Kitts, when you open your tap, all the water used in your home comes from rainfall. All of the water that we use in St. Kitts comes from rain. It doesn't rain every day. It doesn't rain every week. It doesn't rain the same amount every time. In St. Kitts, we have a wet season and a dry season. Yeah, we have less rainfall, therefore we have less water available. Persons need to take stock. Dry season, we have less water available than, say, in the latter half of the year. We need to always remember that.
Less rainfall, less water. Let's go back to the lines at 3 after 9 o'clock. Caller, you are live. I want to thank you for holding.
Thank you much, Your Honorable. Good night to you. And good night to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and good night to the Caribbean. Water is the subject tonight. But I would like to say that for some time now, I've been asking the question about Dudan Pan. Way back in 1995, when the Labour government got into office, I whispered to somebody, why not, seeing that you have a plan to build so much houses around, why not investigate Dudan Pan and see what can be done? Because I made to understand that Dudan Pan is almost as wide as Warner Park, and it is a natural spring. Natural spring. And if some kind of help can be gotten from somebody to tap something from that pond, because I also made to understand that it rests on the top of the mountain, where we could have gravity feed, taking a line from that and bring it to a more centralized part in the country, and to distribute to the rest of the country. A feasibility study, I think, can be done instead of talking about desalination, which is very much costly. I verily believe that if effort can be made to investigate that exercise, I think we could be in so much a better position to distribute water to the whole of the country at what you call economical cost, good cost, a good cost, not overextending the consumer. But nobody paid any mind to it. And the well digging here and well digging there, I don't believe in it, because you're digging it amount to be groundwater. And I believe that if we have surface water, it would be better, hygienically speaking. I think that questions can be asked, it can be put to the table, discuss it properly, and do the costing. If we could trap that water out of the down pan, because it's a natural spring. That is what I have to say for now. Thank you much.
Can I say something to you, Carlo?
Yes, man.
I'm trying to get my geography right in terms of the location of Dudan's Pond, I think it's called, right?
Yes, you're so correct,
But
because I do not have my
response
geography
to what
to
I'm going to
correct
ask you, right? You can perhaps guide us, as clinicians and visions and all those listening in terms of our geography and where Dudan's Pond. It sits on top of one of those mountains close to Brimsley Hill or someplace. I may be wrong. But where does the water that follows the same Dudan's Pond comes from? That's what I want to ask you.
A spring. I mean, to understand it's a spring, natural spring.
And where does the spring water come from?
Well, obviously it comes up from the earth, from the mountain itself.
From the earth?
Yes. From the
but
mountain
all water
itself.
Doesn't come from rain?
Well, the rain would be an asset. It would be additional to what the spring produces.
But it has to originate from rainfall.
I didn't get that. Say it again.
But even the water that springs from the earth, it has to originate from the rainfall.
Well, not necessarily, because, we can't, both of us cannot go as far as that because we were not trained to that extent to know how deep that goes. But from what we know about spring is just a spring. The water comes out of the rock or somewhere, but we get proper, good surface water. Yeah, and in my little way of thinking, I believe that we can make an effort. Do the costing, and I see it as this. If we do the costing, get some help, and we can very well have the whole country with good surface water because, as I said, it's proper gravity feed. One line coming from the source itself, and then to a central point in St. Kitts, central, and then branching off from that central point, and I believe that would solve all of our problem as regards to shortage of water and to talk about desalination, etc., etc., etc. I believe so. I think an effort should be made. Something can be done. I think it can be investigated. As I threw it out way back in 1995, and it was brushed aside. So.
Well, I'm not going to brush you aside, Carlo.
Right.
But you warned me that is a topic that I have no authority to speak on, so I will take your point.
I tickle your head, man. I tickle your brain. I don't tickle your brain with that. I think that we can make an effort. Okay. I don't think the cost could be as much as desalination. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that if we could get help, get some helicopters, some Hercules helicopters, and drop the line, drop the pipe, it can be done. I feel so.
Okay.
I have a strong feeling that it can be done. And I believe that will solve our water problem. I believe so.
Thank you kindly, my brother.
Okay, my brother.
You tried to convince me, but I respectfully submit that all our water, whether surface or underground water, because we have what we call sandy loam soil, soil with a high porosity, porous soil, and it goes underground. And the issue is that our rainfall is reducing every day as we speak, every month, and every year. Let's go back to the lines, caller. It's 9:10. You're live.
Good night, Patches.
Hello, caller.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Patches, I totally disagree that all the water that we use on our island comes from the rain. I mean, for example, look at Nevis Hot Spring. I mean, we just sitting in the ocean. We learned that in school, the island is just a piece of land surrounded by water. That is the same desalination that we have there with the water table. For instance, check by the courthouse when they was digging there. It has connection with the sea. So I totally disagree that all the water that we use on our little island and the island, a lot of them is not spring water. That's my point of view. Good night.
Sorry, my brother. Sorry about that. I didn't miss you, but I probably need to qualify that a little more, right? Because yes, I should say all the fresh water comes from rain. Because we have these coastal aquifers, and as the sea level rises, yes, seawater comes into and percolates into aquifers, and we have what we call salt intrusion. So if we are going down that technicality, I won't disagree with you, but perhaps we should qualify for our discussion that all the fresh water comes from the rain. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Good night to the Ambassador Ian Patrick Liburd. Good night. How are you?
I am peaceful, my brother. Politics. Good night.
Oh my God. Okay. Patches, my little input tonight on the water situation. Now, up to the other day, I was coming from up the hill. Just look for me, just don't look for me anymore then. And the water was running very, very slow. And I said, look at this now. Suppose now that water just shut off like that. And we got water shortage in the Federation because of the drought, because of whatever the problem be. Animal will die, people will die. That's me thinking, that's what I was saying. When I see like what happening in India and them places, like when they got a drought, people drinking mud. You understand? Patches, and I look into it very serious. And I support this desalination plant. Because climate change is doing a lot of things. Now, when I look at the amount of huge building going up in this Federation, in St. Kitts Nevis, and the little water catch them we have to store water, I don't think they're enough. Because every day somebody building a house, every day somebody building some big mansion, and you don't got a time that we're going to get shortage of water. So the desalination plant could be there, it must use now or whatever, but it will be there too whenever water shut off, I mean, our water from the thing shut off from the rain and the earth, because our well could get dry too. And this is something serious we got to go through. And next thing I know, right, nothing impossible under this unity government. That's why we say unity. Because this government has done so much in the second term, then from the first term. Because things where we don't expect, where we never expect, it happened. Look at all of that, we never expect that can happen. And it happened. So I believe coming forward and going forward with this unity government, I believe a lot of things they got in plan, and we could come with suggestions too. We could suggest things and they take our suggestion. Because this is what we want in the country. Not the pulling and tugging and just be dividing because of whatsoever patches. We got to get serious. We got to get real. And you wouldn't find these people who call themselves opposition upon the radio with their criticize the government because the government is doing good. You won't find them come with this kind of solution. They come with nothing. How they come undermine. Digging out sand, undermine the government. But parties they cannot get it work. Because the government is doing the trying their endeavor best to do. That is about never the COVID. If never the COVID, we know on top of the world patches. But God looking over us, and I believe things will work out. That is your wonderful night. God bless.
Have a wonderful night as well, my dear brother. And the issue of desalination is something that has to be considered and considered seriously, because all of our surface water and underground water in our aquifers comes from the rainfall, and the rainfall is being reduced annually. Yes, there is some encroachment from the ocean or of ocean water when the sea level rises, but our source for potable water is rainfall. Caller, it's 16 past 9. Let's go back to the lines.
Yes, sir. Good night. Patches? What's up?
Yes, my brother. I'm peaceful.
Boy. Yes. I just need to say something here. They called it before, Mr. Politics. I've been to Dudon Pond, and the top of Dudon Pond is not as wide as the park. It's a little narrower than what he said. But climate change is affecting our water supply, and I believe that the government should consider desalination, because I think Marriott, I believe, has a desalination plant. I don't know how much of their water comes from that go through the desalination plant and they use, but I believe that is a way for the government to look into, because these plants, you there?
Yes.
Hello. Yes.
They have.
Hello.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was saying Park Hyatt and Marriott both have desalination plants.
Okay. Right. So the bottled water that is sold by most of these, especially the ones that do the bottling, they bottle the water here, to process a gallon of water, let's say, that is done by remote osmosis, you lose about 2 gallons of water. So for every 2 to 3 gallons of water that you process to get a gallon of drink that potable water, you lose about 3 gallons of water. So I don't know how many of those plants here that have remote, because I was working in an institution that had remote osmosis in place. But I don't know how many of those institutions that sell water here have their own reverse osmosis, or they bring the water in. But to get a gallon of water from reverse osmosis, you lose about 3 gallons of. You have to process about 3 gallons of water to get a gallon of water. The rest goes to waste. So I believe that it is something that the government should take seriously, because less and less rain is falling, as let's say 20 years ago. And we can continue like this. And the government should really try and move forward with getting whether 1 or 2 desalination plant, maybe one in each, because right now that Keon is always having problem with water. Forever and ever. That seems like something that they won't be able to resolve. So definitely we should consider getting a desalination plant, and I believe that's the way to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your input. I would add, I don't think we have an option because we are running short of fresh water, and the ocean has lots of water. Caller, at 9:20, you're live.
Yes, but Brimstone Hill has a well up in the courtyard, I think it is. I think India is called that. I remember when, as a little boy, I go up there, I used to go to the well, and the people them say, if you drop in the well, you're going to bust out in station. Well, that was Bonanza's story they used to say. Well, I would like to know how Grimstone Hill get the water up on the height. That's my question to that. But listen here, we need the desalination plant, and we also need to utilize Dudampan. We need to use as many resources that we can, utilize them, because we don't know. And you see this Mr. Wicked COVID, what he has done to the world, he has done some good for us. Out of every disappointment, there comes some good. Because the way this government handled the situation with Mr. Wicked COVID, other countries out there now, everybody now want to come here to find out what did these two little islands here do to control that. And big rich countries cannot control it up to now. So that is what you call an advertisement for the Federation. And when you see Mr. COVID dead, because a lot of us after him, that period out there, and them big boys start to dock up by that, the amount of water they're going to need, we definitely need to utilize Dudampan and our desalination plant. Buckley's estate has 1, 2, 4 reservoirs they used to use from right up in Alaris Mountain up there. And the water, the source of water up there still wasting. Like a caller said, the water that come down from them sources, they just go where until they reach down the bay. We should go back and utilize those water. I mean, that water up there that come down from up there. Utilize it. We can't have it wasting like that. And I think they finish with the reservoirs, them must be early up in the 80s or late 70s. So we need to go utilize them. And if we have to cover them for health, hygiene purposes, we will have to do that. We cannot watch money. We cannot watch it. A lot of people watch money. They got the money and they're afraid to eat it, but they go down in the arm. They run down and they run down so fast that they go down in the hole, and somebody has come and whack out the money. So let me use the money for the betterment and the further building of the country. When the ships them start to come here, they're gonna need a lot of water. And they come in here, they're only waiting until Mr. COVID going, and they're going to rush in here, and then the economy going to boots up like a water spout in the bus. Thank you, Patrick. Have a good night.
Have a good night as well. It's 23 past 9.
Hello.
We go straight back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Hi. Culture, right. Culture is my friend for life. He know what's going on. I'm a village man. But what I'm saying, as he said, Lady was reward them. Hey, Patrice, thank you. I ain't going no further culture say it all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Short, concise, to the point. We go straight back to lines at 9:24.
Patrice.
Call you live.
Patrice.
So.
This is the major.
My lord.
How you do? How are you?
A peaceful major. Yourself?
Well, thanking God for life, you know. But what happened? I sit here. I just wake up, you know, I was so tired. Working hard some of the time. But listening this, you know, all I can say, Patrice, all that your humble servant can say. Getting the facts is only half the job. The other half is to use them intelligently, right? You heard me? You heard me, Patrice? Patrice?
Yes, I'm listening to you, Major.
No, that's all I'm saying. Getting the facts is only half the job. The other half is to use them intelligently. So let's just wait and see what's going on, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, the facts are that rainfall is being reduced. And if you recall, some 6 years ago in 2015, when Team Unity got into office, our rainfall, there was a rainfall deficit, or rather I should say there was a 50% rainfall deficit. And I can't recall before that when we had to ration water. And the rainfall is becoming less and less. Let's go back to the lines, caller. You're live at 9:25.
Yes, Mr. Larry. Yes, I agree that we getting less rainfall, yes. But like I say, we have areas here in St. where you have waterfall that is not being used. They have here in West Farm. They have in Challengers. I think they have one in Keon that are not being used. This water just spoke up from the earth, and they go nowhere. So what about if the government use those stuff? And when we have the rainy season, you have the few water catchment that you have, they overflow. So then what about building more? Maybe not every village, but probably in every constituency you build some, right? So that when you got the lot of rain falling, you got more water, and try to use these areas that you have water just wasting instead of just thinking about okay doing the desalination plant. Yes, that might be good, yes, because yes, we have less rainfall, so we have to go to other alternatives. But let's use what we have now, so that we don't lose out later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. I think we're both saying the same thing because you just said we're getting less rainfall, and as I know, the little that I know, right, and that the source of almost all fresh water is precipitation from the atmosphere in the form of mist, rain, and snow, right? Fresh water falling in the mist, rain, or snow contains materials dissolved from the atmosphere and material from the sea and land over which the rain-bearing clouds have traveled. So I mean that's the little I know, and it's not my area, so I would be cautious to even discuss much more about that. But to simply put, all our fresh water comes from the rain. This email reads, Patches, speak with authority. You know, a colorful word here. Well, that desalination is the way to go. Then St. Kitts will never be out of or lack water. You don't have to tell anyone how to use their water because they will have to pay for it. Then one can use water as much as he or she wants. Put 2 desalination plants in St. Kitts, one in Keys and one in Sandy Point. Thank you. There's one already in Sandy Point, and there are plans to put one in Keys. I think that's funded by the UAE, and there should be a desalination plant in the Keys, Canada area, and that was already is being funded again by the United Arab Emirates. St. Martin, Dutch, and French, they each have their own desalination plant, and they're never out of water. St. Kitts so big, and they sound so foolish. Even Anguilla has a plan. Desalination is the way to go. The sea, the ocean has all the water. Come on, Patches, set the record straight, reads this other email. And this email reads, Patches, you are so correct. That pond is rain water fed, because if the water is spring water, how come the pond never full? And if it is full, where the runoff go when the pond is filled? How come the pond never full? Reads this email. Then let that guy who don't know what you said is correct. Yes, that's the views of the emailer, and not necessarily the views of Straight Talk and or the host of Straight Talk, my family. It's 29 past 9 o'clock, my Straight Talk family. We go straight back to the lines, and caller, I thank you for holding you alive.
Patches, good night. What an important topic. The most important topic I heard since I called in on this. Let me tell you something. Water is life. And the most precious thing on earth is water. Not silver, gold, diamond, platinum. You could name it. Water. St. Kitts is very, very resilient in water. Okay? We have the natural water, like somebody mentioned. Okay? Our main source of water came from condensation. And if you know the principle of condensation, that's how our water.
because of our mountain. We have one of the highest mountains in the Caribbean. So we must have water. You see Mount Misery Peak? Up there is like snow. It's like snow. If you ever go on Mount Misery Peak, it's like snow. Endless water running down the hills because of condensation. Now, let me speak. I am from Molyneux, and I've been campaigning this. The water that Molyneux produce and being produced forever, okay, there are a lot of waste than what has been collected. I had the privilege to go up there as a little kid, and I had the privilege when I was down there in 2019, and it's the same old, same old. You see, all waters that has been discovered by whatever method, they're talking about desalination, they're talking about drilling, which they have drilled for water. Molyneux water is enough to supply more and more because they have a little catch basin up there, okay? And there are so many room for improvement, okay? There are more water being wasted than what is being collected, and the system that they have in play right now is out of date, okay? It's about an 8-inch or 6-inch pipe feeding the whole of Molyneux Mansion, Atlas, and where else it goes, okay? I mean, it is good to find water where water is, but the stress on water in Senki should never be in, because we have enough. We have enough water to sell to any place that have hard time to get water. Okay? So what anybody talk about, let me tell you something. The infrastructure need to be looked at. Okay? And I'm going to say this. When I call in, people have a tendency, why he jumping on the Prime Minister for? Look, the Prime Minister is constituency 7. Okay? And he cannot be everywhere, every nitty cranny throughout. But people who working for him, people who have assignment to report to him as to what, they are not doing a good job. Okay? Let them go up to Molyneux source. Disgrace. And I have documentation as it is right now how it is. Okay? They have to look into the water system that is so free and just flowing like that. Okay? The water system. And if Molyneux is like that, what does it say about other places that people will be complaining about? Well, I'm going to elaborate on Molyneux area. Okay? The water, there are more water wasting than what is collected and feeding all the areas that they have right now as I speak. Okay? Okay? Access to getting up to where the water is like what Monkey Road is, and they have to just clean it. Okay? They should have bulldozers to cut a good road to go up there and put security around the water that is there and improve upon it. And that is my focus, water. Because imagine pipe is shut off at a certain time of the day. Okay? I mean, pipe should not be closed down, depriving people out of water because of maintenance. The maintenance, they need to put a good infrastructure. We cannot focus everything on tourism. Yes, tourism is good. Everything that is a plus, yes. We got to look back in our backyard, and the backyard has been ignored. They got to go and take a look at the source that Molyneux produce water. More water has been wasted. These wasted water, okay, is still enough for the wild animals, the monkeys and whatever wild animals in the mountain. Too much water is wasted. And that is a need. Willful waste is a woeful one. And there is no excuse at all. Up to today, this is going on. The Prime Minister got to look at the infrastructure, have people going out and inspect and see the necessity for the water system in Molyneux area. Okay, this is not hit or nothing. I am for the country. I am for the good moving forward. Okay? And I'm out here and listen to anywhere in the world of droughts. They have had time. We have natural water in home, St. Kitts. And you could drink that water without even the chlorine to purify. You know, you go up in the mountain and you drink a belly full of water. I'm telling you, we have plenty water in St. Kitts. We shouldn't be talking about hard time for water. All the farmers can get enough water to irrigate their plants. So, I cannot accept the way it is right now. I'm going to fight for that to happen, and it must happen. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your input, caller. Well said, quite passionate, and I'm sure that all in authority listen to you. I know, for example, in the Phillips Mountain, they supply water, I think it's 230,000 gallons per day. And yes, you spoke of condensation, which has something to do with the process of water vapor, and and when the water droplets in our clouds, combine, they become heavier to form raindrops and to rain down on us in whatever part of the world we are in. Caller, you're live at 24 before 10.
Okay, me again. You hear me, Patches? Hello?
Yes, you're loud and clear.
Okay. Now, we all have to agree that there was a time in St. Kitts when we never used to lock off water, because the town has spread. I mean, I went onto that mountain there just above Stapleton, and when I look down and I see the spread past here and the surrounding areas, there's a lot of houses. Just recently, I was looking at a picture in Bird Rock, and there was no houses in the Bird. The only structure that was there was the sugar thing that was built there many years ago. Now, with all those houses going up left, right, and center, there is need for more water. We never used to lock off water in my day. I mean, I'm old enough to know this. We never used to lock off water in my day. I used to have the opportunity to visit a lot of these springs, and some of them are not running all the way down where they used to run. So and then Dodown Pond, there's a runoff at the back of Dodown Pond. It's like a little cliff where the water run off. So naturally, the water don't really full up. When it's full up, I must say, when it's full, it run off at the back of the Dodown Pond. Like I said before, that I know experiencing water locking off. I mean, ever so often, because of the fact that rain is not falling like it once used to. I mean, everybody know this. The rain don't fall like it used to. And like I say, and I will continue to say, we're living in modern times now. We can't afford to be dependent on rainfall, and I believe that the government should start thinking seriously, modernizing by putting in a desalination plant. The seawater is there. I mean, how much of the seawater, because we can't use all the seawater. And if you can install, since Marriott and the other hotel have a desalination plant, but what is the hard for the government to put in one? I shouldn't be here, and when I go and I open the pipe and there's no water. I mean, you get up in the night and you want to take a shower, when you look, you turn on the pipe and there's no water. We can't. This is modern time we're living in. We can't depend on springs no more, because everybody knows that there's a decrease in rainfall. So, and we don't have no rivers here like other places. So the best way for the government to go, and I hope they're listening, since Marriott and the other plant, the big hotel can install the desalination plant, I don't see why the government can't do it. I don't want to be in a state where I turn on my tap and there's no water there. We must be modernized. We're living in a modern world now. We're not living in 1945 back then. We're living in 2021. And if we have to move forward, it's about time that the government consider putting in a desalination plant. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. I'm reflecting upon a comment by Major Jones. He said, what did he say? Collecting the facts is only half of the way, but using the facts is the other half. I'm paraphrasing here. I think this is what he said. But really, that caller from Molyneux made some points in terms of the aging equipment and so on. But the facts are that the current total, average total production, I should say, or production capacity within our system is approximately 6.9 million gallons, and that's wells plus surface sources combined. Whereas the average demand back then in 2015 or thereabout was about 6 million gallons. So it's important to note that these surface sources, the springs, are highly susceptible to drought and typically drop to as low as 40% during the dry season. So no matter what you want to say about desalination and try to look at the messenger and not listen to the message, these are the facts. Hence, during the dry season, this 1.9 million gallons can be reduced to less than 1 million gallons per day, causing some areas to experience less than 24-hour supply. And our groundwater wells are also susceptible, albeit not as susceptible as the surface water. These are the facts. We can take it or take them and leave them. Caller, you are live. It is 19 before 10. I thank you for holding.
Thank you, too. Thank you for having me again. Patches, I am very strongly about what I injected into this mix. You know, back in the day, you know, even up to now, a lot of people do not understand what thunder is and lightning. When we were growing up, they said when we hear thunder, God is talking. And, you know, once there is lightning, there's going to be thunder. Do you know what happened? You see all the condensation over the high mountains, Mount Misery Peak. You know what happened? It's due to condensation. When the clouds reach to maximum capacity, that's water. It's a blast in the air like a bomb. That's when we get rain. Anytime you see lightning, you're gonna hear thunder. And that thunder rolling is an explosion in the air of water coming down. Okay? So we have that natural resource hanging over our head. Okay? Whether it's rain down in the villages, water always in Mount Misery Peak. All because of that mountain, the height of the mountain. And up there, like I said again, is like snow. Go up there and you will see how you feel. You have to wear a winter jacket. Okay? So I am strongly cautioning those authorities that have responsibility for the water to take care of those natural resources. Yes, it is good for the desalination. I second the motion about desalination. I second the motion for drilling into the water table. And more is more, because the population is getting bigger and bigger every day. We have people coming in, moving from migration. So the population, so there's a demand for water. Remember in the days when we had the sugar plant? The sugar plant used to use a lot of water. It took a lot of resource of water from wherever it was originated from. But we have enough water, and more is more. The desalination, the drilling, and what other ways you can find for water. But there should not be an excuse that there is a hunt for water. We have enough water. Thank God we don't have to buy water. That's all I can say. And I'm telling you, this is one of the best topics I ever participated in. But we got to fight for the development, the improvement for water in St. Kitts moving forward. So just like the focus is on tourism, we should even put more into the water system in St. Kitts. And if anyone have any grievance against my comment, say it aloud. Because I will debate that anytime. Anytime. And I'm a strong debater when it comes around importance. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for your input.
Good night, Honorable Patrice Liburd, my good friend.
Let's go back to the lines at 15 before 10 o'clock. You're live caller.
Yes, Honorable Patrick Liburd, a pleasant good evening to you. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Wells. Good evening,
Okay,
sir. How are
beautiful.
you?
I'm pretty fair, thank you. I would like to make an input on your program on the matter dealing with the water situation in St. Kitts. I have heard it mentioned by the water engineer on St. Kitts that the water sources on St. Kitts are one at Wingfield Mountain, another at Franklin's Mountain, and the third is at Stonefort Mountain. But I am also aware that there are other sources, like I would say, I know of Dudon Pond at Lambert's Mountain. Then at West Farm Mountain, there is a place called The Hole. I think some local person has tapped into that to do selling of bottled water. That is in West Farm Mountain, The Hole. And there is a place, another hole, at a place in Green Hill Mountain, where many of the people from Keon with animals give their animals water from that same place. And when we have storms or hurricanes, that hole runs to the sea with water and cause a place we call wash gut, to give sand that is washed out from the clay for people to build homes. So the three areas that was mentioned by the government, possibly they are utilizing those three. But there are more, which I've just mentioned there. Now, we have a problem in that when the estates were functioning, and I was part of that management of an estate, I used to have to patrol the water lines regularly, because persons who raise animals in the mountain would tap into the water source in a way that would cause wastage. And I had that job on my estate, or the estate on which I work, to stop that wastage, both at Parsons and also at Stonefort, also at Wingfield. Now, talking about wastage, the government of the day played a part in assisting the water department to control the water supply. The estates played a role. And also the factory, the sugar factory played a role. You know why? The sugar factory had some pipes, terrible pipes, big pipes, from the country area of Wingfield all the way to the factory with water. Also, the government followed suit and brought pipes so that the main hospital can be supplied with that type of water. So if you go to the hospital now, you will see that the water is clear like crystal. Very good supply, because it is coming from the country, mountain. Maybe Franklin's, maybe Wingfield, but they know how to deal with that. And so we have a situation in St. Kitts of which we can be proud to have very beautiful water supply. I remember the days when Mr. Chuck Norris came here to film. He was staying at a hotel in town, and he got sick because of the sorting of the water from the well, the aquifer, like they call it there. And you know what he did? He went to West Farm Mountain, put some huts up there for his people, and lived in that place to do his work. In West Farm Mountain, at the Hole. And I also understand, as time went by, that somebody who is in the business of doing bottled water also went up there and tapped into it. But when we have hurricanes and rain, you have a wastage, because it has not been properly treated, or not treated, contained, so the water comes down and goes to the sea. And so why are we complaining when we're not utilizing the God-given gift given to us? To say we have just 3 water sources certainly is not true. And the people of Keon is struggling for water. But who tapped into the Green Hill Mountain in that hole to get water? Other persons who want to do bottled water. And what is the government doing about it for the people of Keon? So then, we need to look at the situation again. I'm not going to waste any more of your time, Honorable Patrice Liburd, but because I think I have made enough remarks to convince you that St. Kitts is good, beautiful, and we must treasure the gift that God has given to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. I can assure you that you're talking to the converted. But you are right that I believe there are 6 sources that I know of, surface sources. The Wingfield you mentioned, there's the Keon Green Hill, there's Franklands, there's Stonefort, Phillips, and Lodge. I'm not too familiar with the Lamberts and West Farm areas, but let's go back to the lines at 8 before 10. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good to.
Yes, sir, you're live.
Mr. Straight Talk, I'm saying, see, if everybody got all this information, why is it that the government ain't have it? You said that the engineer says that they cannot do nothing but because all the water comes from the rainfall. But these people are calling and they're saying all these things, water, St. Kitts have enough water. But if St. Kitts have enough water, can't you guys do what they say? But the government know what's to be done. So I don't know how could they say that they have all this water there and the government not doing nothing about the water. Mr. Straight Talk, I just want to say, you guys just do what you got to do. That's all. Do your thing as a good man, sir, and I'll see you when I see you.
Thanks a lot. See you when I see you, my dear brother. But you're so correct. And this is what the acting water engineer, or manager and water engineer said about water.
We need to continue to develop additional groundwater supplies. We need to continue to drill. And in that vein, as we speak, we are pursuing that. Matter of fact, we have recently signed a contract with a company.
So they're continuing to drill. He also said to the nation that another option is desalination.
To just mention desalination as one of the options that is right now on the table for us here in St. Kitts as an option. Desalination, of course, is where you actually set up a plant usually close to the coastline, and you stick a pipe out in the ocean, you pull in the seawater, you run it through that plant, desalination plant, and out comes fresh potable water that you can drink, cook with, bathe with, etc. Marriott does it. I think Park Hyatt has one. The main thing with desalination, of course, is the cost. It uses a lot of electricity, and therefore
cost has been revised, but cost should not be an issue, because the fact is that, as reported, the recent droughts in the Caribbean, example in 2009 and 2010, and again in 2015, have significantly impacted, amongst other things, water availability, agricultural production, and gross domestic product within the region. It's 5 before 10. Caller, you are live. I thank you for holding.
Yeah, me again. I'm gonna have to say this.
So,
how much longer we're gonna wait? Every year, like I said already, more and more times we're experiencing the turning off of water. The rain is not falling like it used to. I don't care how many wells there is. If we don't have rains, the wells in them are not going to run, or the source in them are not going to run as they normally would. I can remember the days when West Farm, most of those, and the one that's back here by Greenfield, there used to be a trickle of water running down those guts there. No water run down in those guts. And like I said, the way to go, we can't afford to wait and say we're gonna dig there. Even when there's hurricane and the gut running, we don't store the water when the gut coming and gushing down there, all them load of gallons of water. We don't store the water. Just tell me, you're gonna build a dam? We're gonna store the water. When to stop the water from coming on the guts? We're gonna store it. It's our will and good to set up. I am saying, I will continue to say, to help the situation that maybe it's better to set up, we need to go to desalination. When it comes to electricity, I don't see that's a problem. We need to go to a better source, and that is desalination. We have this ocean there. If Marriott doing it and some other hotels do it, well, then why the government can't install one? We're gonna wait until we for days and you can't get water. We have to do something now. And desalination, with the help of the little we're getting from the source and them, is to go and install a plant or two to make sure that in the next 10, 15, 20 years, we don't run out of water. Simple as that. The less rain is the less water we're going to have in the ground. I don't care how much cloud and so forth. The less rain we have is the less water, because you all are knocking off water. Tell me why you all are knocking off water then, since you have all those sources all over the place. Why are you knocking off water? I should be able to get up. I supposed to be able to get up anytime in the night and open my pipe and I get water. Not you telling me you're locking off water in this area and you're locking off water in that area. We no longer get the rainfall like we used to. And the only way to help the situation is to put in the desalination plant. And that's my input to rest tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for your input. I will venture to say that there is no other option. Yes, there's a dry season, there's a wet season. And as I said before, we have a highly porous soil. I think it's called a sandy loam soil. So, and our water percolates underground. So when the soil is saturated and we have this rainfall, then that's when it runs to the ocean. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live at 2 before 10.
Your Honourable, I am here again. I believe a careful study should be done as regards to the land, because I see that water could be a prime asset to the water system. I feel so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And your point is taken. I don't believe that we should avoid doing any research, doing any studies as it relates to downspan and the quality and quantity of water that's available there. Caller, you're live.
Yeah, Patches, as the earlier caller them talk about the West Warm source and Stonesport and those other sources Mr. Wells talked about. Well, them source was there a long time serving us too, because I remember when I was a little boy, that them same West Warm, you have to tank in the West Warm yard, and the water used to come from up the source, we call it the source, and that's just the water we used to use in the village, use on the estate. And Patches, I don't know. I call in on a program, I think Mr. Paul was in the program, and it was working for you. And I tell him about them same source. You understand? If them source can develop and continue to do the West Warm and boys and whatever, water. But I remember where you answered me telling me, but I did ask him the question about the source them. Because Patches them source up there, right? And if you go up there right now, they block up. Because nobody taking care of them, they clean. Remember years ago when you used to go up there, to go up and clean the source. and the water continue to run, water to reach all right down. When you see rain start to fall heavy, water come right down and it come right down to west, come right down to the west wall. So the water could be storing there, and the same tank could have down there, and the water goes straight back to the tank. So I don't know whether end up to open can to meet the Maligno caller. You know, I do not think they'll pay sufficient attention to fixing these things to store the water them and get the water them in the right way. Because he talk about Maligno. And if Maligno, like the water, if the water ain't properly like thing, because the water go to waste, instead the water going to something that he can use after when he don't catch. You understand, Patches? So I believe that the water department and the government need to look in serious to this source. But I go to insolidation plant, I go to it. Because too much building, bringing up hotel is building, this is building. When hotel open up again, I'll plenty water going to use, because this has got to watch and that got to do. The prison got to use water, the informer use water, the hospital use water, all over use water, so water going to be needed. So something got to be done very serious about water in the Federation. That is, you're wonderful. God bless. Have a wonderful night. May God bless you and keep you.
Thank you, my dear brother Politics. Have a wonderful night as well. We go straight back to the lines. Caller, thank you for holding. You're live.
Patches, it's me again. Listen, my headline is willful waste is a woeful want. And I'm warning. You see, all who are responsible, all the authorities who are responsible for the water system in St. Kitts, they have to do a proper investigation of all the resources that St. Kitts have with water. It's not being tapped into. Most of it has been ignored. And I am challenging anyone to look into this. We shouldn't be talking about deprivation of water. Look, the old system is poorly maintained, okay? Poorly maintained. They have to redo the whole water system in Molyneux because it is in poor condition, okay? And you know another thing? You see the guys them that work up there? They should be well paid, okay? But it is cheap labor, and it's not something of great importance, but willful waste is a woeful want. And if water is a problem right now, it's going to get worse. I mean, all resources that you could tap into to get water, it is good because more is more. I agree with desalination. I agree with drilling into the water table. I agree with whatever other method might be in the mix. But you got to use what you got, take what you can take and make use of it. You got to look into the cost effectiveness of what will be a cheaper way to get water. And to me, if they were to visit all these sources where water is originating from, I believe it will be cheaper. It's only for improvement. It is there, you know. It is there. And you can't stop it. And the water will never stop. As long as we have that mountain and those clouds over those mountains for condensation and the process of water of Mother Nature, nothing can stop that. Never, 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 never. Use what you got, take what you got and make use of it. And it is not happening. It is being ignored. Okay? And look at the cost effectiveness. Which is cheaper to replenish with water? Drilling, desalination, or just go up to the source and improve the water system that is natural? Remember that. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, caller. Perhaps, just perhaps, that's the way, or perhaps I'll take two more calls, caller, as we're out of time. You're live. Thank you for holding. Hello, caller.
Hello?
Yes, you're live.
Yeah, a gentleman a while ago talked about the water in West Farm that just trickled down. I don't think he know where he talking about in West Farm. In the whole, where Mr. Welch talk about, right? Almost every week, you got fellas who do horseback riding. Take people up there to go under the waterfall, to enjoy the waterfall. So I don't think that guy know where he talking about when he talk about West Farm. It's because the gut area isn't cleared properly. Why the water don't come all the way down? But the water comes from the mountain and it stops like in a pool area up there because the gut isn't cleared properly. And you have people go up there to bathe in the waterfall. So I don't think he know where he talks about when he mentioned West Farm. Thank you.
Okay, I got you loud and clear. Perhaps I'll take one more call.
You hold your call.
If
Okay.
I have a final call, I'll take that call. As a matter of fact,
okay,
I believe that's the way we should end it. I started a bit late, but I'll take this
I have one
and make
question
this
for
my
you.
final
One
call
big
tonight.
question.
Caller, what's on your mind? Your life.
Okay, I want you hold your corner. You also get you all into going into farming again and livestock. So you hold your corner, man. You all definitely need a ship coming, ship always taking on water. So you are definitely gonna need this water thing. So I don't care what they're talking about. We do need water in St. Kitts, eh? So you don't give it. You hold your corner, man. Farming is a big thing coming up. You see, I pushing farming, livestock again. Have a blessed night, man.
Have a blessed night, my dear brother. And that's the way we're going to end it tonight because my time is done and I got to run. I've heard you all. You've said to the world, to St. Kitts and Nevis, what is the value of water to you. We talk about the system, the water system, and right now, as we speak, they are replacing some pipes, transmission pipes, which have been buried and transmitting our water since the 1950s, asbestos pipes, believe it or not. Now, for you to understand it, the water comes from the source, goes into the reservoirs, some are gravity fed, and there's some water that has to be pumped from underground, goes into the wells and then into the reservoirs, and they are transmitted or go through pipes to our taps in our homes for us to have water. That's the whole system, and we understand it needs to be maintained, and one can understand that and support that. One should also support that there should be a proper analysis of all the sources of our water. But one cannot rule out, as a matter of fact, one can never rule out the options available to us. And one such option is desalination. Because the fact is that there's some 68 new desalination plants that have been commissioned since 2007 within the Caribbean. And right now within the Caribbean there's some installed capacity in the region of 782 million gallons of water per day. There's these plants in Curacao, in Aruba, in St. Martin, in Antigua Barbuda, in Bermuda, in Grenada, in the British Virgin Islands and the US Virgin Islands, in the Bahamas, and also, I don't know if I mentioned Barbados as well. Why not? Why not St. Kitts? That's an option. It's an option because in 2017, the Caribbean Drought and Precipitation Monitoring Network warned that in the years to come, the Eastern Caribbean could see declines in average rainfall between 30 to 50%. Concurrently, the region is experiencing the rapid depletion of freshwater aquifers, an increase in saline and solid water, and the pollution of groundwater sources. These land and water-based issues do not even begin to take into account serious socio-economic and political deterrents to clean water availability. And we can think of decentralization. In cases of decentralization, it means we can simply place treatment directly where it's needed. In Sandy Point, there is a plant there, so it can satisfy that particular area. So in terms of decentralization, that can be done. Containerized packaging of state-of-the-art technology has brought decentralized desalination off the drawing board and into the market by Street Dog family. Desalination has to be the way to go because traditional large desalination plants required significant investment. However, with the advancement of technology, low costs and researchers, including scientists, have worked and developed low-cost, energy-efficient solutions. Improvement in technologies have pushed the costs of operating, or the operating costs, I should say, of desalination plants way down. My Straight Dog family, the size of the global water desalination equipment market is projected to increase to 25.7 billion by 2027, driven mostly by growing consumption and depletion of fresh water in the Middle East and Africa. Nations that rely heavily on desalination include Israel, as someone said earlier, Arabia, Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, Libya, and others. The United States, as well, is one of the largest users of desalinated water among industrialized countries, with facilities mostly in California and Florida. One of the largest emerging desalination markets is Latin America, which began to attract attention in 2012 with demand for reverse osmosis in the mining and oil exploration. In the Caribbean, it has to come. Fresh water is critical to life throughout the Caribbean. Water is life. On this World Water Day, my Straight Dog family, I posit the view that government has the primary responsibility to provide basic services like water and sanitation for all of its citizens and will be the entity most capable of ensuring that these services last. Why not our public-private sector partnership approach? Because clean water, I posit the view on this World Water Day, clean water is a basic necessity for life, but it is not a reality for much of our global population. In response, many social impact organizations work tirelessly to eliminate this threat, to save lives and transform societies for the better. Every human being has that right to safe, clean, affordable, and accessible water. That's my message on this World Water Day. Water is life. Let us preserve it. My Straight Dog family, my time is done and I gotta run. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. And as always, I want to thank you, the many callers, those of you on social media, Facebook and YouTube, thank you as well. Those of you who sent emails, there are those who just listen to the big radio ZIZ. Remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I have as well to always thank Bevan Wilkinson and John James, who are in the back room. They are ensuring these programs are beamed around the world. Albert Bradley is always there in studio. And don't you move your dial, because Albert comes on next with his oldie goalies to rock you to sleep or keep you awake. Until we connect, my Straight Talk family, on Thursday, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. Remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Dog family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Thursday, be good to yourselves, be safe, and stay healthy. Bye-bye, my Straight Dog family.